Have you ever walked away from a family conversation feeling strangely unsettled, even though everyone seemed kind and the discussion appeared perfectly normal? You open your heart because you trust the people you love. You mention your plans, your worries, your health, or your thoughts about the future, believing that honesty will bring everyone closer together. But instead of feeling lighter, you sometimes find yourself carrying a new kind of burden. Suddenly, your children start checking on you more than before. Family members begin offering opinions you never asked for. Small decisions somehow become group discussions. And without anyone intending to cause harm, your peaceful, independent life can slowly begin to feel smaller. Most of us were raised to believe that honesty is always the best policy. We were taught that good families have no secrets and that sharing everything is a sign of trust and love. There is truth in that, but there is another truth that often comes only with age. Wisdom is not about saying everything you know. Wisdom is knowing what to share, when to share it, and what is better kept quietly in your own heart. Some conversations strengthen relationships. Others, even when spoken with the best intentions, create expectations, misunderstandings, or worries that never needed to exist in the first place. Protecting your peace does not mean becoming distant from your family. It does not mean hiding the truth or pushing people away. Sometimes, it simply means setting gentle boundaries around the parts of your life that are yours to carry. In today's video, we're going to explore 5 things that many people over 65 are better off keeping private because they can help preserve your independence, your dignity, and the peaceful life you've spent decades building. You may recognize yourself in more than one of these situations. And if you stay with me until the end, the 5th one may completely change the way you think about conversations with the people you love most. Number 1. Don't reveal every detail about your finances. Money is one of the few subjects that can quietly change family relationships without anyone noticing at first. Many older adults believe that being completely open about their finances is the responsible thing to do. After all, if your children understand what you own, where your savings are, and what your plans are for the future, won't it make everything easier one day? That sounds perfectly reasonable. In fact, many parents choose to have these conversations because they want to prevent confusion later. They hope that by explaining everything now, they'll spare their loved ones unnecessary stress in the future. But life doesn't always unfold the way we imagine. Sometimes, the moment every financial detail becomes known, the relationship begins to change in subtle ways that are difficult to reverse. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold was 78 years old, a retired high school principal who had spent decades living below his means. He wasn't wealthy by celebrity standards, but he had done well enough to enjoy a comfortable retirement. His mortgage had long been paid off, he had a healthy retirement fund, and he had carefully organized every important document in a folder that sat neatly inside his home office. One Sunday afternoon, while his 3 children were visiting, Harold decided it was time to explain everything. He showed them where his investments were held, how much money he had saved, what insurance policies he carried, and even described how he hoped his estate would eventually be divided. His children thanked him. They hugged him. The conversation ended peacefully, at least. That's what Harold believed. Over the next several months, however, small changes began appearing. When Harold mentioned taking a vacation with an old friend, one of his sons immediately asked whether it was really a wise expense. When he replaced his aging car with a newer model, his daughter wondered aloud if he should be saving that money instead. Even simple purchases, a new television, better hearing aids, a donation to his local church, were suddenly followed by questions he had never heard before. Do you really need that? Have you thought about how this affects your savings? Maybe you should check with us before making big financial decisions. None of these comments were intended to be cruel. His children genuinely believed they were helping. But little by little, Harold noticed something uncomfortable. People had stopped seeing him as a capable adult making his own decisions. Instead, they had begun seeing him as someone whose finances needed supervision. Without realizing it, they had crossed an invisible line, and Harold, who had managed his household responsibly for more than 50 years, found himself explaining purchases that required no explanation at all. This is something many families experience without bad intentions. The more information people have, the more likely they are to feel responsible for what happens next. Concern slowly becomes advice. Advice slowly becomes expectation. Expectation slowly becomes control. Before long, your financial choices no longer feel like your own. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore practical planning. Quite the opposite. Every older adult should have important legal documents prepared, including a clear will, updated beneficiary information, and someone trustworthy who can step in if an emergency ever makes that necessary. Planning ahead is an act of love, but complete financial transparency is something entirely different. There is no obligation to tell everyone exactly how much money you have, every account you own, or every decision you make with your retirement savings. Privacy is not dishonesty. It is simply recognizing that some parts of your life deserve healthy boundaries. After all, you spent decades earning that money through hard work, sacrifice, and careful choices. You have every right to enjoy it in ways that bring meaning to your life without feeling as though each decision must be approved by a committee. Your children don't need to know every number in your bank account to love you. Your grandchildren don't need a detailed balance sheet to appreciate you. The people who truly care about you will respect your independence as much as they respect your generosity. So, if there's one lesson worth remembering, it's this: prepare wisely. Keep your financial affairs organized. Make sure the right legal protections are in place, but don't feel pressured to reveal every detail before the time is truly right. Number 2. Don't share every small health complaint. A stiff back after cleaning the house, sore knees after a longer walk, or an occasional sleepless night become common experiences for many people over 65. Because these discomforts happen so often, it's easy to mention them in everyday conversations. We rarely think twice before saying, "My shoulder has been bothering me," or "I didn't sleep very well last night." To us, they're simply passing observations, not signs that something is seriously wrong. The people who love us, however, often hear those words very differently. They don't live in our bodies every day, so they don't know whether an ache disappears after a little rest or whether a restless night is quickly forgotten by morning. Instead, they hear each complaint through the lens of love and concern. What sounds ordinary to you may sound alarming to your children, who naturally want to protect you from anything that could threaten your health or independence. Consider the story of Eleanor, a 75-year-old widow who enjoyed a busy and active life. She volunteered twice a week at her local community center, loved baking for her neighbors, and spent weekends tending to her flower beds. One afternoon, while speaking with her daughter on the phone, she casually mentioned that her hip felt a little sore after moving several heavy flower pots around the patio. She even laughed and said she had probably done more lifting than she should have. Eleanor thought nothing more about the conversation. Her daughter did. The next morning, she called to ask how the hip was feeling. 2 days later, she offered to hire a gardener so her mother wouldn't have to work outside anymore. Before long, she began suggesting grocery delivery instead of shopping in person, reminding Eleanor not to drive if she felt tired, and insisting that she call before doing anything physically demanding. Every suggestion came from genuine love, yet each one quietly chipped away at the confidence Eleanor had always felt in managing her own life. Over the following months, her family no longer asked about the flowers she was growing or the friends she met every week. Instead, their conversations almost always began with questions about how she was feeling physically. They worried before she worried. They limited activities she still enjoyed. Gradually, they started seeing her as someone who needed constant protection, rather than someone who remained capable of making her own decisions. Family members rarely intend to become controlling. Most simply react to the picture they have in their minds. If every phone call includes another ache, another restless night, or another minor complaint, that picture slowly changes. Without meaning to, they begin assuming your health is declining much faster than it actually is. Once that perception takes hold, it's surprisingly difficult to change. Of course, this doesn't mean you should hide important medical problems. If you've been diagnosed with a serious illness, need surgery, or develop symptoms that genuinely affect your daily life, your family should absolutely know. Those are moments when support, understanding, and practical help become invaluable. Allowing loved ones to stand beside you during difficult times is not a sign of weakness. It's part of being a family. But everyday discomforts are different. Not every sore muscle deserves a family discussion. Not every poor night's sleep needs to become a reason for everyone to worry. Sometimes your body is simply reminding you that it has worked hard for many decades. A little extra rest, a slower pace, or a quiet afternoon may be all that's needed. There's another reason to be selective about what you share. The more often conversations revolve around aches and pains, the easier it becomes for those small problems to define how both you and your family see your life. Before long, every visit begins with medication, doctor's appointments, or physical complaints instead of laughter, memories, hobbies, or future plans. Without realizing it, your world starts feeling smaller than it truly is. So here's the lesson. Share the health concerns that truly matter, especially when they require support or medical attention. But don't feel obligated to report every ordinary ache that comes with aging. Protect your health by listening to your doctor, and protect your independence by allowing your loved ones to see the strong, capable person you still are. Not just the occasional discomforts that every older body experiences. Number 3, don't get too deeply involved in family conflicts. One of the hardest roles to let go of as we grow older is the role of problem solver. After all, you've spent decades looking after your family. You settled disagreements between siblings, comforted children after disappointments, and offered advice whenever someone needed guidance. Helping the people you love became second nature. So when tension appears within the family, it's only natural to feel the urge to step in and make everything right again. The difficulty is that family relationships change over time. The children you once guided are now adults with families of their own. They carry different values, different parenting styles, and different ways of handling conflict. Even when they ask for your opinion, they may not truly be looking for advice. Often, they're simply looking for someone to listen. The moment we begin offering solutions, however well-intentioned they may be, our words can easily be interpreted in ways we never expected. That was the lesson David learned at the age of 79. He had always been the calm voice in the family, someone everyone respected for his patience and fairness. During a weekend visit, he noticed his daughter becoming frustrated with her 8-year-old son, who had left his bicycle, school bag, and sports equipment scattered across the front yard. Hoping to ease the situation, David smiled at his grandson and gently said, "Maybe it's time to start putting your own things away. You're old enough to take care of them." It was a simple comment, spoken with kindness, and without any intention of criticizing anyone. But the atmosphere changed almost immediately. His daughter became unusually quiet. She quickly changed the subject, and the rest of the afternoon felt different. A few days later, their phone conversations became shorter. Family visits happened less often than before. Months passed, and although they remained polite with each other, David sensed a distance that had never existed. Eventually, his daughter admitted what had been bothering her. She hadn't heard encouragement for her son. She had heard criticism of her parenting. In her mind, her father wasn't correcting a child. He was questioning the way she was raising one. David was shocked. That had never been his intention. Yet intentions don't always determine how our words are received. This is one of the quiet realities of family relationships. Every person hears advice through the filter of their own emotions, experiences, and insecurities. A suggestion that feels gentle to you may feel like judgment to someone else. A well-meaning observation may sound like taking sides. Even remaining completely objective doesn't guarantee that everyone involved will see it that way. Once you become part of the disagreement, something unexpected often happens. The original conflict slowly fades into the background, while your involvement becomes a new issue altogether. Instead of remembering what the argument was about, family members remember who said what, who supported whom, and who made them feel misunderstood. Before long, the person who only wanted to bring peace becomes caught in the middle of the very tension they hoped to resolve. That doesn't mean your wisdom has lost its value. On the contrary, your experience may be more valuable now than ever before. The difference is knowing when to share it. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer your family isn't an answer. It's a calm presence. It's listening without immediately choosing a side. It's allowing adult children to solve problems in their own way, even if that way looks different from how you would have handled it years ago. There will certainly be moments when your guidance is truly needed, especially if someone asks sincerely for your advice, or if a situation involves safety or serious harm. But many everyday disagreements don't require another voice. They simply require time, patience, and the opportunity for people to work through their differences on their own. As difficult as it may be, not every argument is your responsibility to fix. Sometimes protecting your own peace means resisting the urge to step into conflicts that don't belong to you. You can love your family deeply, support them wholeheartedly, and still choose not to become part of every disagreement. Number 4. Don't share too many regrets about the past. No matter how full or meaningful a life has been, almost everyone reaches a point where they look back and wonder about the roads they never took. Maybe it was a career they didn't pursue, a place they never visited, or a dream they quietly set aside while raising a family. Those thoughts are completely human. Growing older naturally brings more moments of reflection, and with reflection often comes the phrase, "if only." The problem is not having those thoughts. The problem is that the people listening to them may hear something very different from what you actually mean. Many older adults talk about their past simply because they want to pass along wisdom. They hope that by sharing a regret, their children or grandchildren might avoid making the same mistake. But once those words leave your mouth, they no longer belong only to you. They are filtered through the emotions, memories, and insecurities of the people who hear them. Margaret, 78, she had lived a life most people would admire. She and her husband had built a loving home, raised 3 children, and enjoyed a peaceful retirement together before he passed away. One evening, while looking through an old photo album with her youngest daughter, they came across pictures from a family camping trip taken more than 40 years earlier. Smiling at the photographs, Margaret quietly said, "Sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if I'd accepted that teaching position overseas when I was younger. It would have been an incredible adventure." She wasn't complaining. She wasn't wishing her family had never existed. She was simply reflecting on one of life's many possibilities. Her daughter smiled politely, but she became unusually quiet for the rest of the evening. A few days later, during another conversation, she finally admitted what had been on her mind. "I've been thinking about what you said," she told her mother. "For a moment, I wondered if you felt we kept you from living the life you really wanted." Margaret was stunned. That thought had never crossed her mind. She had loved raising her children and had never viewed them as obstacles. Yet one innocent reflection had left her daughter questioning whether her mother's sacrifices had been filled with hidden disappointment. This is why regrets can be so easily misunderstood. When you say, "I wish I had traveled more," someone else may hear, "I wasn't happy with the life I had." When you say, "Maybe I should have stayed in my career longer," your children may wonder whether you regret the years you spent caring for them. What you intend as a quiet life lesson can sound like dissatisfaction to the people who love you most. There's another consequence that is easier to overlook. The more we dwell on what might have been, the more our conversations become anchored in a version of life that no longer exists. Family members may begin seeing us as people who are trapped in yesterday instead of embracing today. Without realizing it, they start feeling sorry for us, rather than appreciating the rich, meaningful lives we continue to live. Of course, reflecting on the past is healthy. Looking back helps us understand who we've become. It reminds us of the choices that shaped our lives and the lessons we earned through experience. But reflection doesn't always have to be framed as regret. Instead of saying, "I wish I had been braver," you might say, "Life taught me how important it is to take opportunities while they come." Instead of saying, "I should have done things differently," you could say, "One of the greatest lessons I've learned is to make time for what truly matters." The wisdom remains exactly the same, but the feeling is completely different. One focuses on loss, the other focuses on growth. Your family doesn't need to carry the weight of wondering whether they were enough. What they need most is the gift of your perspective, your resilience, and the lessons you've gathered over a lifetime. Every life includes unfinished dreams and unanswered questions. That's part of being human. But you don't have to define your story by the opportunities you missed. Instead, let your story be remembered for what it taught you, rather than saying, "I wish I had." Try saying, "I've learned." Number 5. Don't reveal your inheritance plans too early. As people grow older, many begin thinking seriously about the legacy they will leave behind. It's a responsible thing to do. Creating a will, organizing important documents, and deciding how your assets should eventually be distributed are all thoughtful steps that can spare your family unnecessary confusion in the future. Because of that, many people believe the next logical step is to explain every detail to their children while everyone is still healthy and getting along. The reasoning seems simple. If everyone knows what to expect, there won't be any arguments later. Unfortunately, life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it's not the inheritance itself that changes a family. It's the knowledge of it. Helen learned this lesson at the age of 82. After losing her husband, she decided it was time to organize everything. She met with an attorney, completed her estate plan, and felt relieved knowing her wishes were clearly documented. A few weeks later, she invited her 2 sons and daughter over for dinner, believing complete transparency would prevent future misunderstandings. That evening, she carefully explained who would receive the family home, how her savings would be divided, and which personal keepsakes she hoped each child would inherit. Everyone nodded politely, thanked her for planning ahead, and the conversation seemed to end on a positive note. But over the following months, Helen noticed subtle changes that she hadn't anticipated. Her oldest son suddenly became much more interested in discussing the value of the house. He often suggested that selling it sooner might be the wiser financial decision. Her daughter occasionally questioned whether certain family heirlooms had been divided fairly, pointing out that some items carried more sentimental value than others. Even her youngest son, who had never cared much about money, became noticeably quieter whenever conversations about the future came up. The easy, relaxed feeling that had always existed between them was gradually replaced by quiet comparisons and unspoken expectations. What saddened Helen most wasn't the discussions about money. It was realizing that every major decision she made afterward seemed to be viewed through the lens of inheritance. When she talked about renovating the kitchen, someone wondered whether it was worth spending the money. When she mentioned taking a long-awaited vacation, another family member gently reminded her that she should be careful with her savings. Even donating to a charity she had supported for years suddenly became a topic of conversation. Without intending to, her children had begun calculating how today's decisions might affect tomorrow's inheritance. Once people know exactly what they expect to receive, it becomes difficult for them not to think about it. Human nature makes comparisons almost unavoidable. Questions begin to surface. Expectations quietly grow. Even loving families can find themselves viewing ordinary decisions through an entirely different perspective. That doesn't mean your children are greedy, nor does it mean you've done anything wrong. It simply means that introducing future inheritance into today's relationships can change the emotional balance in ways no one intended. Have a professionally prepared will. Keep your legal documents updated. Choose someone you trust to carry out your wishes, if the time ever comes. Your later years should be spent enjoying the life you've worked so hard to build, not worrying about whether every purchase, every gift, or every financial choice will be measured against someone else's future expectations. Your greatest legacy has never been the value of your estate. It's the love you've given, the character you've demonstrated, and the example you've set over a lifetime. Prepare your affairs carefully, but don't feel pressured to reveal every detail before the right time. Some plans are meant to provide peace, not become topics for debate. You've spent a lifetime giving your family your love, your time, your guidance, and countless sacrifices. Now, you've earned something just as valuable: the right to live these years with dignity, independence, and a quiet heart. Some things are not kept private because they're secrets. They're kept private because they help preserve the life you've worked so hard to build. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 lessons spoke to you the most? Is there something you've decided to keep to yourself in order to protect your own peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience may encourage someone else who is walking the same path. If you found this video meaningful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our future conversations. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, take good care of yourself, cherish your peace, and remember that some of life's greatest wisdom is found not only in what we say, but also in what we wisely choose to leave unsaid.